Hey there, I just wanted to chat for a minute about something that people ask me sometimes, which is just around sitting with medicine at night versus sitting with medicine during the day. And there's several differences between these. Um, and there's a really positive aspect of both of these experiences, right? There's reasons to do both. When we sit with medicine at night, it definitely tends to allow us to go deeper into ourselves, right? Deeper into our subconscious, to go deeper into the things that we tend to keep hidden from ourselves, right? And this is, reflected by that darkness all around us, right? Literally, the darkness is representative of those parts of ourselves that we keep hidden, right? Um, Also, in general, we can tend to have more heavy, more difficult, more scary experiences in nighttime settings. Nothing wrong with this, right? Nothing bad about this. It's just more of those aspects of our subconscious that we don't allow ourselves to see, and so we fear them, right? The fear is mostly coming from the fact that these are aspects of ourselves that are unknown, that are unfamiliar, right? And so it causes a fear response in us. That being said, a lot of the work that we do when we work with somatics, I will do with medicine during the day. And there's multiple reasons for that. Just doing medicine during the day alone, it tends to be a lighter experience, right? Not that you can't have difficult experiences during the day. Certainly you can. You definitely can. Um, but because we can open our eyes and we can see the world around us and actually connect with that visual sense that we have, that can help ground us in this reality and ground us in a sense of safety. Now, obviously, if you've taken like a very large dose of a psychedelic or a plant medicine, psychoactive plant medicine, that causes a lot of visuals, then that may not actually be the case, right? If you've taken such a large dose that everything around you in your visual field is distorted and is changing, and is unfamiliar, then that can also be very, very scary, right? So, I mean, in general, the doses that we serve in ceremony are not going to be so large that with open eyes in the daytime, you're not going to be able to distinguish like what's real from what's not real, right? From what is more of a vision that is being induced by the medicine that you're sitting with. So, in that sense, the being able to open your eyes and ground into your physical reality and orient externally, it can help bring you out of the intensity of what is coming up within yourself and can help ground you in a reality that looks and feels familiar, right? And so that's super helpful when we're doing somatic work, and it's helpful for a couple of reasons. One, when we're combining somatics and plant medicine work, the whole purpose of this is actually to utilize that space of expanded conscious awareness to go deep into ourselves and begin to learn to hold space for what comes up. But we don't want to be so deep in the interdimensional spaces that can open up within plant medicines that we can't distinguish like what's coming from within us, right? What's coming from within what we're holding in our body. Because there's a lot out there, right? And so when we work with somatics, and especially when we work during the day and we're really connected to our bodies and connected to the earth, it can really help keep us grounded in this reality, right? Because we are multidimensional beings, and especially our mind exists in a lot of different places at the same time. Um, we can even see that, right, in the way that our mind likes to do everything very quickly. It spends a lot of time projecting into the future, spends a lot of time ruminating in the past, very little time in the present, right? So that's a lot of what we're actually working on when we do somatic work, is how do we bring our conscious awareness here and now into the body and allow space for the things that the body is holding to come up and be witnessed and be observed and be held with love and compassion, right? And so when we do this in the daylight, and we have this ability to this expanded awareness given to us by the medicines that we're sitting with, and we use that expanded awareness to actually go deep within instead of traveling outward, right? Instead of like traveling to other dimensions through projecting outward, we travel inward. Okay, we can access other dimensions through traveling inward, but it's in a different way, right? It's very specific to us and the blueprint that we gave ourselves within this body. So traveling inward, and if things get too intense, right, because when we're working with the body, when we're working with the nervous system, we want to be gentle. We want to be cognizant of the fact that it can get overwhelmed and kind of shut down, right? So we don't want to go into that stage where we get re-traumatized. And so when things get too intense, we can open our eyes, we can look around us, we can look at the trees, we can look at the grass, the earth, like listen to the birds, the sounds around us, ground back in the here and now, right? Because when we go deep within, we also travel, right? Just like when we go out, we travel. And it can be really intense because it's also a lot of emotion. When we go in, it's holding space for the feelings, holding space for the emotions, holding space for the sensations that we've experienced throughout our lives, but maybe haven't actually had the capacity to be present with and hold a loving and compassionate space for when they actually arose initially. So when that happens, we hold on to them, right? And that's why we do this somatic work, is so that we can go in and we can clear out all of this stuff that we're holding within our bodies that we're not even aware of. Because this is what dictates our patterns. It's what dictates our core beliefs about ourselves. But just like going back to like this kind of night versus day, doing somatic work in the day, it just helps you ground in this physical reality with a much more ease. And when we can do that, when we can stay grounded in this physical reality and grounded in the body and really conscious of how our nervous system is responding to what we're doing, we can start building that sense of safety, right? That relationship of safety with the body. Because that's really what this somatic work is really all about, is beginning to develop a relationship of safety between our conscious awareness and our physical body. Now, our physical body also has a conscious awareness, right? But it's not the same, prefrontal cortex conscious awareness that allows us to build iPhones and create 401ks and things like that, right? Things that other mammals don't do. So that part of our brain that allows us to create realities that don't exist outside of humans, create things that don't exist outside of humans, that's the aspect of our consciousness that we need to integrate into the body in a way that feels safe to the body, right? In a way that is actually collaborative with the consciousness of the body. Because the consciousness of the body is a consciousness that has evolved on this planet over millions of years with everything else on this planet. The consciousness of the mind is of a lot of different places. Okay, it's a little different. And so letting that run the show, like that consciousness is rather new here on this planet, right? Like we're really the only beings that have that form of consciousness developed to the level that we have it, but it's still very new. It's a very new form of consciousness. So we don't want to like let the toddler run the show, right? Especially when it hasn't actually learned how to collaborate with the consciousness of the earth, which we carry in our bodies. So, this is, I guess, a more long-winded way of explaining nighttime journeys versus daytime journeys. Nighttime journeys are really important. They're really important for going deep within yourself. If there's things that you need to clear out, things that you need to purge, a lot of that, it can be, I find that those things can sometimes come up more easily at night. So it can be really, really good for that. And I mean, they come up during the day too. It's not that they don't come up during the day. It's just that some of these more dense, heavy aspects of our subconscious is like they will more easily come up to the surface at night. Whereas during the day, it's easier to distract ourselves, so to speak, to open our eyes and orient externally and get up and walk around and maybe eat some fruit, chat with somebody, these different things, right, during the day when the world is more familiar to us, right, because that's when we operate. So it's not that one is better than the other. They both have a purpose and a function, and there's a reason that we do the somatic work during the day, because we actually want to start incorporating this expanded awareness, the state of expanded awareness, into our walking lives, right? That's the other thing that's actually quite important about daytime ceremonies. If we always do all of our expansion and all of our journeying into the subconscious at night, during the times when we're usually not awake, during the times when we're not usually active, when we don't have the capacity to orient externally and interact with others, in a way we're sending a message to our body that that's the only time that we can do that, right? When in reality, what we have to develop within ourselves is the ability to be present internally, understanding, feeling, seeing everything that's going on inside of us while we are orienting externally, while we are going through our lives, right? Walking outside, interacting with people, operating in our lives day to day. We don't want to save all of our introspection for the times that we're not actually living a life, right? That we're not actually out in the world living. We have to start bringing these two things together so that we can be present with our subconscious, be present with our feelings, with our emotions, every moment of every day as we're walking through life. That's embodiment, right? And so when we practice doing this during the day, when we do have all these other kind of distractions that are available to us, it helps us train ourselves, like, how do I interact with all of these external distractions and stay present within myself? And that's the key, right? That's really the key to all of this, is staying present within self while actually having a life and having those external interactions, right? So that's part also of what we're practicing when we sit with medicine during the day. And if you journey on your own, this is something that you can definitely do, and just notice, if you're getting up and distracting yourself, that's okay. See if, rather than it being a distraction, see if you can maintain that depth of connection and have that external interaction, even if it's just looking at a tree, right? That too is an external interaction. So we can train ourselves this way, right? To be able to allow everything that's within us to continue to flow and be observed while we're interacting externally. Yeah, so